From Montana's news leader, this is the MTN Noon News.
Good afternoon, everyone. Thanks for joining us on your statewide noon news this Monday. I'm Jeanelle Slade. Well, protesters clashed with Minnesota police last night after a traffic stop led to the death of a young man. It happened just 10 miles from the site of the Derek Chauvin trial. The National Guard is still on scene. Jamie Yukas reports.
Stop! Stop! Marching through the city, protesters met a line of officers at the Brooklyn Center Police Department who used flashbangs and tear gas to try to break up the group.
We saw rocks and other objects thrown at the police department. There were reports of shots fired in the area of the police department.
Earlier in the day, dozens gathered in the same spot where family says Dante Wright was killed by police.
What do we want? Justice! What do we want? Now!
His mother, Katie Wright, says Dante called her right before the incident.
Said he was getting pulled over by the police, and I said, well, why did you get pulled over? He said they pulled him over because he had air fresheners hanging from the rearview mirror. He didn't deserve to be shot and killed like this.
The 20-year-old allegedly drove away when police say officers tried to arrest him on an outstanding warrant. One officer fired a shot at the car and hit Wright, who allegedly continued driving several blocks before hitting another car. Wright died at the scene and no one else was seriously injured. Police are investigating and say dash and body cameras appear to have been activated at the time. The shooting took place just 15 miles from where George Floyd was killed by Minneapolis police last May. As the murder trial of Derek Chauvin continues today, residents say this adds to the hurt.
Pain and grief. I mean, trauma. We're already in a trial with George Floyd. We're at a breaking point as a people.
It's illegal in Minnesota to have objects like air fresheners hanging from your rearview mirror. Police say both officer body cameras and dash cameras are believed to have been on during the incident, but it's not clear if or when the video will be released publicly. Jamie Yukas, CBS News, Brooklyn Center, Minnesota.
And we do have an update to the story just breaking moments ago. According to CNN, the Minnesota officer shouted taser, but instead of firing a non-lethal stun gun, fired a real gun instead. Well, more than 700 Americans died just yesterday from COVID-19. This makes up just part of the more than 560,000 U.S. people who've died since the pandemic began. Health experts blame more contagious variants for a surge in the upper Midwest. Officials hope to get more vaccines out to fight the outbreak. Well, after struggling with a lack of vaccine doses, the Gallatin County Health Officer now says the county will receive about 5,000 doses a week. The Gallatin County Fairgrounds has 5 pods or clinics planned this week, with one focusing on VA patients. Bozeman Health's Incident Command lead also says the hospital will now offer vaccines to people who are not patients while still prioritizing Bozeman Health patients. The county is planning more outreach efforts to educate and make getting the vaccine easier for people ages 16 to 20.
This is about making vaccine available to those who want it. This isn't about compelling anybody to get the vaccine in any of these settings at this point in time, but we'll definitely be reaching out in different ways. We're also talking to amongst ourselves and with the state about ways we might do outreach in environments that we typically wouldn't be doing.
Gallatin County continues to see an uptick in COVID-19 cases among people 20 to 29 years old. Well, starting today, people can apply for federal help to cover funeral expenses for loved ones who've died from COVID-19. FEMA is offering to reimburse people up to $9,000 per funeral. Households who lost more than one family member can be eligible to receive up to $35,000. The deaths need to have occurred after January 20th of 2020. Applicants will need to provide FEMA with the cause of death along with paperwork on funeral costs. Well, the Montana Supreme Court is taking rare action. State Republicans are trying to acquire internal emails from the judiciary in an attempt to reveal political bias from judges. Lawmakers got a subpoena and were given a batch of those emails last week. But yesterday, Montana Supreme Court ordered no further emails can be produced. The High Court then set a hearing scheduled to attempt to settle the issue. President Joe Biden is nearing his 100th day in office, and one major issue widely talked about is student loan debt and whether the president will cancel it. Joe St. George brings us the latest.
The average college student is now graduating with over $30,000 in student loan debt. That's around $6,300 more than borrowers from the class of 2009, according to U.S. News & World Report. But where does canceling $50,000 per person in student loan debt stand with President Biden? Well, during the campaign, he promised to cancel $10,000 per student in debt. But when he was asked about canceling $50,000 in February,
I will not make that happen.
He flat out rejected the idea, but since then, the White House has announced a review.
It's both a policy review and a legal review. So Department of Education and Department of Justice to look at what the options are and what authority could be recommended to the president.
But the big question you may be wondering is timeline. How soon could any of this happen? After all, D.C. reviews can sometimes take years.
Well, you shouldn't expect any news for at least several weeks. That's because federal student loan payments are still suspended until September 30th.
If the president allows student loan payments to begin in October, you potentially could look for the review to be over around then and perhaps some news. Of course, we don't know what the review will find. One thing we do know is that Congress could cancel debt if they wanted to legally right now. The president says he would sign that legislation, but so far, those proposals don't have enough votes to get through. Your best hope at debt relief right now remains in the hands of one man, and that decision looks to be a while away. In Washington, I'm Joe St. George.
Missoula authorities are investigating a wrong-way crash that killed 2 people over the weekend. It happened Saturday on the Russell Street Bridge. Police say one vehicle was speeding, going the wrong way, and had no headlights. Well, that car hit another car. The 2 occupants in the vehicle going the wrong way both died. A woman was taken to a nearby hospital with injuries. And drivers in the Flathead, listen up. Road construction in the downtown corridor is not going to slow down. The Kalispell Concrete Rehab Project should last for about 2 weeks. Crews will be out today through Friday, 7 p.m. to 7 a.m. Single lane closures will be in effect, and pedestrians and bicyclists are advised to take alternate routes. And Manhattan schools are asking local voters to approve a levy this May. It would lead to an increase of $13.14 per year per $100,000 valuation on a home. Well, the last time the district went to the voters for a levy was in 2014. If the levy doesn't pass, the district may have to start looking at cuts. Those cuts could impact athletic programs, music, and theater. And over in Butte, if you're looking to try your hand at planting this spring, there are plots available at the Park Street Community Garden. The plots are $30 to rent for the season. If you rent a plot, the garden has amenities like tools in the shed, water, and free compost. Even the seeds are free from the Butte Public Library. There is a catch, however, just a small one. At the end of the season, some seeds from the current crop must be donated back to the library. And we have more ahead on your noon news, including a bonus for skiers. Exciting news out of Red Lodge. But first, meteorologist Miller Robson is in next with your statewide weather forecast. Don't go away.